Welcome to the Level Up Your Band podcast, episode 17. Welcome back to the Level Up Your Band podcast. I'm Gavin Patterson, and again, I'm here with Julian Pombo.
Hello.
Hello. So today's a special episode because it's our first guest interview, and we're going to be talking with Rob Shearer. And
Hello.
Rob, there's Rob there.
Hi.
Rob is a drummer based in London, originally from East Kilbride, near Glasgow. Sunny Glasgow, as it is this week. Rob has been playing with many groups through the years. Currently is playing with the blues band, London-based blues band, the Connor Selby band. Robert and I know each other and have known each other for, I think it's over 10 years now, 12 years maybe.
Long time. Too long.
Oh no. Last summer, the Connor Selby band were given the opportunity to play with The Who, opening up at Wembley Stadium. So we're definitely going to have a wee chat about that amazing experience. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Rob Shearer. How are you doing, Rob?
Hey guys, how's it going? Not bad.
Hi, thanks for doing this. This is really cool.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So we're utilising this Zoom thing. This is our third or fourth episode doing the Zoom chat stuff, and seems to be working all right. We usually do it in person, so Julian usually comes over to mine, or I go to Julian's or whatever. And
it's exceptional circumstances, man. There's nothing we can do about it at this point, so makes it easier.
So you're in London just now.
I am.
How's things down there?
It's the epicenter of the virus, apparently. But yeah, it's getting busier. They're starting to lift restrictions, and everyone's starting to get out and about. Sadly, there's no music scene at the minute. Still, it's all very much under wraps at this point.
Yeah.
But we're starting to see things slowly but surely get back to normal down here. So hopefully, it won't be too long before we get the bars and the clubs open, and we can get some musicians back out earning some money and playing some music again. Hopefully, but yeah, it's been a bit strange for the last couple of months.
And that's today is the 2nd of June. So
2nd of June. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they've started lifting some restrictions up here. There's some people going back to work.
I've been speaking to my parents. I've been speaking to my parents, and they've been kind of keeping me up to speed of where the differences between down here in England and up in Scotland back home. So it's interesting how things are, for such two countries so close together, that there's a couple of variations that are not in remotely similar.
Well, it's down to, I would say, its population density has a huge part to play. Because if anyone's ever been in London, it's like sardines. It's absolutely compared to Scotland. It's like totally night and day, and it's in the same country. It's bizarre.
Having said that, apparently London's meant to be. It's got the lowest R number in the UK at this point.
Really?
So it's down at 0.4, I believe, was the last time I checked. So that's
okay.
So it's actually it's a couple of weeks or so ahead of everywhere else. So it's probably the place you're going to start to see things opening up first, and then it'll spread around the country after that.
All right.
So
cool. So
yeah,
we're like to talk about music, not coronavirus. So
we're not here for that. I heard too much of that.
So a little bit of background. Rob and I met, and I think you can correct me if I'm wrong, in 2008.
2008 it would be, yeah. Mm-hmm. 2007 or 8.
We grew up in we went to school, neighbouring high schools. And we met at it's a kind of after school council band thing. You would call it that. Band camp. We met at band camp. And Rob was playing, or Robert, as he was known back then, was playing percussion in the band that I joined, and that's how we met. But there's a couple of things I actually don't know about your background, so I'm going to ask you some questions.
Your hair looked very different back then when I met you.
Yeah, it was a bit longer, although it's kind of getting there just now.
So.
I haven't seen a barber since February. So
that makes two of us, man. Yeah.
So I was going to ask. So I met you when you were roughly 15 or 16.
I was 16 years old, I think it would be. Yeah. It's been quite.
When did you actually start getting into music? What point?
Well, believe it or not, the career that I have just now was always taking precedence for me. I was always music was always in the family. It's a very musical family, as you know, Gav. And my mother and my uncle were both musicians, and they've both grown up, living and breathing music. Mum's a music teacher. My uncle used to play in a lot of theatre companies and is the pit MD, and such as that. And of course, as a young age, I used to get dragged to these things and watch the shows and go and see my uncle and my mum in the pit and all these types of things. And it was really very interesting. I always remember getting myself really fascinated by all the instruments and seeing all the musicians down in the pit. But specifically, for some reason, the drum kit just took my eye. Didn't really do anything with it. Just sort of sat there dormant for a good, I suppose 15 or so years.
Yeah.
I'm not 15 or yeah, but 12 to 15 years or so. And then it was towards primary 7, so the last year of primary school, when I moved to the Lenzie school catchment area, which is where I went to school, not next to Gav. And my parents thought it would be a good idea to put me into the music programme in there. So it was doing a series of courses which go away to a residential place out near Aberfoyle up north in Scotland, and then we would do a week there, and then we would learn your instrument. This was for people who hadn't played at all ever before. And then after your week of learning your basics on how to play your instrument, percussion it was for myself, you'd go to the RSAMD, as it was then, or the Scottish Academy of Music and Drama, and you would perform the pieces that you'd learned over the course of the week. So that was really the first insight of playing music, was that point. Before that, I'd been exposed to it in different ways with groups that my mum had played with and whatever else, and my uncle, but never actually had done anything before I started with this, it was the Primary Schools Orchestra, Eastern Bartonshire Primary Orchestra, and that was in 2003, I believe it was.
Okay, so I didn't realise you had started drums that early. I thought it was a little.
I hadn't touched it. I mean, my dad's got a very fascinating camcorder footage somewhere that nobody will ever see ever of me as as a toddler. And my mum and dad bought me the typical, not the pots and pans, but they bought me the Toys R Us, little drum kit from the Early Learning Centre. Actually, it was the Early Learning Centre, and then I used to sit there. And this was probably age 3, 4, or 5. Playing along to some Beatles records with my dad, but of course that's probably the earliest genesis of me in a drum kit. It was about maybe 3 or 4, pushing 5, doing that, but not seriously until about 2003.
Okay, yeah, it's kind of similar to me. Although I wasn't posh enough to have a little mini drum kit, I was literally pots and pans. It was buckets, and I didn't have drumsticks, but I did have like a bow and arrow, a plastic bow and arrow thing. So I used the 2 arrows for
aim your bow and arrow. Which drum you?
Yep, So
that's a great idea.
Just sitting in my room. It's got to start somewhere.
Start somewhere, yeah, you do.
So did you just always see yourself doing music?
Yes,
professionally.
Yes and no. I think I didn't. As I said previously, I didn't catch that bug until I joined sort of high school. I think for me it was, as I said before, I've got a different career path that I currently am in just now, and that career path has always been something that I've been fascinated in as well since a young age, and I always saw that I saw myself doing that career path permanently. And music was always just, it's that thing that my mum and my uncle do. But as I got to sort of my early teens and things, I really started to get caught by the bug to play music, and all of a sudden it just went straight up on my priority list. And I always had that, ability and that interest and timing and all that. I always had that, but I just never used it properly until I was early high school. And then I really got into it then and properly went serious about becoming a session musician, and just playing as much as I could. And if I could earn a living out of it, then so be it, happy days. So, but it didn't really come on as strong as it should have done until about maybe 2004 or so, 2005.
Yeah. So after leaving education or school, secondary school, high school, I know this because I know you made the choice to go to college to do 2 years. It was the same college that I went to.
Same college, yeah, same course. I think it was initially.
Same course, yeah. So, was it at that point? Would you say, because we sometimes talk about like how education, has some positive and some negative roles to play in musicians' lives. Sometimes it can be really beneficial and other times not. I know for me personally, I went on that course and I would say 98% of that course was a complete waste of time for me. It taught me it taught me some things, and like I figured out what I wanted to do within the first hour of being there. So it and then I had to spend another 2 years there.
Yeah, you did, yeah.
See, like, I've never actually asked you this. Like, did you find that course worth it, or did it contribute or help you in any way, or change your path in any way?
It was definitely worth it from an experience point of view, because, like I said, it was, everything I'd done up until that point was in school. So even from a growing up and a maturing point of view, it was good, because instead of being sort of, in such words, mollycoddled by your school teachers and you've got to do this by this date, all of a sudden you're in college now, and the big scary college, and you were left more to your own devices, and you had to do everything yourself. And if you didn't do the work, then you didn't pass. It's as simple as that. And I think what that does is that instills a discipline into yourself, which you need to have as a musician, and that not just for your theory, but also for your playing as well. Because if you don't do the work, if you don't put anything in, you're not going to get anything out. And I think in doing that gave me a really motivation to really work for myself and really push. I think it was probably at that point that I really decided that, being a session musician was what I wanted to do. And also from the playing side of things, I had some great teachers in there, like who really looked after us and who, helped. And, it was really tons of them. Not even just obviously my drum tutor, but all the other tutors that were there. But also when it came to things like the music business side of thing, and also just how to network yourself, there were a load of classes on that. And I thought that was really beneficial, because it's the sort of thing that, you can learn, I suppose, these days by looking at YouTube and things, but it's like by speaking to some people who have actually been there, they've done it, and they've recorded with this artist, they've played here, they've played there, and that really gives you a bit of a motivational boost, and you end up just, getting a lot of ideas on how to market yourself. I started my first website off the back of being at college, just because I'd been quite inspired by what one of the lecturers had spoken about how you network yourself, get yourself a website. And I think I went home that weekend and set one up, and I've still got the same website now, how many years later. So it's definitely beneficial from that point of view. I know what I obviously remember we've talked in depth about what your opinions on the courseware. But again, it depends on whatever musical I'm bringing. For anybody who knows, by the way, this guy's a musical genius. Both of these guys are musical geniuses, and I'm literally crawling up a ladder trying to catch up. So they have always been 10 steps ahead of me. So
rubbish.
No. So these guys were all way ahead of the game by the time I got there. So it gives different things to different people depending on what your history and what your musical interests are. Because I think some of the stuff that you play at the college is more sort of straight ahead, your classic rock stuff. Whereas obviously I know you, Gavin, you were massively into your Dream Theater at that time, which is very technical, very and very. It's not beyond college, but you were at a different level than what some people who were starting the college at the same time as me were. So
yeah, and Julian's got a jazz background. It's kind of
sure,
again.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Because speaking of teachers, like Julian's bass teacher was, I'm sure just as much as what he was teaching you actually on the bass was important, but also the experience of like how to behave in gig situations and all that stuff is equally important.
Yeah,
that was the other thing that they did sort of teach you at college, which you might have had in my later high school career, I'd started working with a couple bands, and of course it's one of these ones where there's just no etiquette, because there's just how many guys getting together, they've never done it before, and they don't really know what they're doing, they're just going as the crow flies. But when you go to college, there's an ability to say, look, well, okay, this is how you should behave, this is how you should hold yourself. This is how, what time you should turn up to the gig and what sort of equipment you should have and how prepared you should be. So there's definitely lessons on that when you go to college. If anyone's, thinking about or going to college to learn music, it's highly beneficial. It gives different things to different people depending on, as I said, background, upbringing, whatever else, But
so you left college and you've got these skills that you've learned. What was the first thing or first set of things that you wanted to do when you left college?
Oh well, I think I just wanted to get my name out there. I think as anybody else would, you get to that stage where you've played your instrument for so long, you've practiced, you've got yourself to such a credible position, and you think, I really want to get what I've done. I want to get it out there, and I want to get myself some work. So for me personally, my interest in my heart's always been in the recording studio over anything else, just because there's something about that, the vibe of being in a studio that it's not replicated live, I don't think. So I was just the keenest. I was the keenest on getting myself in the recording studio. So my initial step once I finished college was to came out there now. I was asking for advice. I wanted to get in different bands, and I was literally just applying to everybody. I applied to absolutely everybody who would have me, and a lot of people did. but a lot of people, those the odd people, the odd sort of fish that did bite, and I ended up. Remember, I did a day trip down to London. Never think I'd live down here, but I got on a train at 5 o'clock in the morning with my cymbals and my stick bag, and I came all the way down to London to Euston Station to do a 20-minute audition for this artist who had been signed, and they needed a drummer for his touring band. And I came all the way down to London for the day, did the audition, then got back on the train and came home again at night. So that was a long day. Got to do these types of things because it pays off in the end. I didn't get that gig, but it's one of those things. And then obviously you had a good sort of solid, or semi-solid Ceilidh band going at the time, which kept us, had the odd little gig, and that gave us experience as well, how to deal with people, how to deal with customers, and playing live. Yeah, versatile live experience, and then just try and get myself in as many bands, record records as possible, live, whatever. Just get yourself out there. That's what
and you take a lot of inspiration from Jeff Porcaro, the late drummer of Toto. The reason I know this is because you never shut up about him. He is a
14 years worth of
great
about that.
He's a great idol to have. I suppose, would you say that's probably where your love of the recording studio comes from?
Quite possibly. I think I always used to I remember when I was younger, I used to my mum was a big fan of the Copacabana record from Barry Manilow had obviously a big part in that, and I remember listening to the because it was the cast record, London cast recording, I think it was, of it. And Chess also was another musical that that Mum had the CD for, and I was really fascinated by just how good these instruments sounded in a recording studio, isolated with no air sound. It sounded different completely to when you were stood in front of it. It just sounded so punchy and so tight and clean, and everything was all EQ'd and these different and all the effects that shoved on there. And I found that really interesting. And then also, as you see, you're right. Like from perspective of growing up with a if you would call him an idol such as Jeff Porcaro, then that was incredible, because he's obviously one of the most recorded drummers in history. And you kind of grow up learning the trade from him, listening to videos or watching videos and listening to interviews and things, and him along with his Toto colleagues were very and they were really highly sought after in the studio. And I think I just wanted monkey see, monkey do, and you just copy what I'd seen and do that. I wanted to do that. I wanted to go into a studio in Los Angeles every day of the week and record a record and get paid for it and earn a living from it. A bit naive, I suppose, nowadays, but at the time that was what really pushed me forward, was getting myself to somewhere away from Glasgow. Nothing wrong with Glasgow, because Glasgow's got probably one of the best music scenes in the country other than London. But it was just that idea of going somewhere new and where the music was happening and just get myself involved head first.
So at one point, was it 3 years ago you went to London now? Is it 3?
It's pushing 5.
5?
No.
Really? Oh, wow.
Pushing 5. 2015 I went down there, I came down here.
So music is one of your main passions, but we can talk a wee bit about your other just as big passion, your current day job.
Current day job.
Yeah,
it's a thing. It's I can't, outside my other passion, which I think I mentioned earlier, was I've always been a massive sort of lover of aviation. It's been something that just fascinated me since I was a wee guy. It just around about the same time as music, but it took off, pun intended. It took off faster for me than music did. Music caught up a little bit later on, but I've always had that bug for flying and everything to do with flying and airplanes and everything else. So I've ended up getting myself a job. I'm working at Heathrow Airport at the moment, doing some working around some of the biggest airplanes in the world, and that's keeping me more than happy on multiple levels in terms of it's scratching that aviation itch, like absolutely crazy, and also financially keeps me steady. So and actually, but that's the other thing I would say, you know, if there's people who are wondering about moving to a new place, such as maybe coming from another country or another city to somewhere like London, if you've got another interest, I would say that when you're coming to a new place with a new music scene like London, it's not going to be a case of you jump straight into the music scene and then you're known and everything else. Because as I said, you know, without blowing my own horn, after the amount of work that I'd done up in the Glasgow music scene and the amount of time I've been up in Glasgow, I'd started to find myself, you know, you'd go into any bar and you'd know at least 2 or 3 of the players that were playing there. You really get yourself. It's a decent sized music industry, music scene up in Glasgow. But once you get into that inner core of it, you start getting calls left, right, and centre for weddings, for recordings, for whatever. And as I said, you start going into anywhere in Glasgow and you bump into this musician who plays with who and who plays with who. And but when you're moving to somewhere new, you find yourself getting taken out of that scene where, you know, you're known pretty well by quite a few people to being not known at all. And that's just a completely new start. So for me, what I decided to do was pursue my aviation career down here for a while, doing what I'm doing. And then that would be the sort of steady money earner, you know, on the back burner. And then the music would come in its own time, which it has done. And that meant I didn't have any pressure as far as making money out of music was concerned. I could just make music, which is a passion, at my own pace. And and it's worked out pretty good. Touch wood.
Yeah, lots of people do it because obviously, if you've got a family or some, you know, you have to support someone. Like kids. A steady job, so-called steady job, can be a good thing, so that you can still pursue your music on the side. I mean, there's some people do it the other way around, where they get involved with a full-time wedding band, and that's probably the closest you can get to a steady music job, or working in a recording studio or something like that. But as a result of you, so you started out in Glasgow Airport was it a ground marshal in Glasgow Airport first? Is that
just a service agent? Yeah.
Okay.
And checking and boarding and all these bits and pieces. Yeah.
So as a result of you moving down to London, you joined the Connor Selby band. So how did you find, or how did they find you? Well,
this goes back to what I said before, and this is where college I think was probably quite beneficial for me. He found me through my website, so he just typed in about new drummers. I think I put myself out on something similar to join my band or Gumtree at the time, and then I think he'd seen that, and there was of course a link to the website. He clicked the link to the website, and then he had a quick look through, decided that I wasn't an idiot and I wasn't a disaster, so he thought I'll give the guy a message. So he dropped me a message, and then he said, "Do you fancy coming along to a rehearsal and seeing how you get on, and then we can just take it from there?" So I said, "Yep, absolutely." I ended up going along to this rehearsal, and it was over in Essex because that's where I was based at the time, and it was up in Chelmsford way. And we had a rehearsal there, and it all went really well. We got on well with each other, and Connor seemed to like my playing, and I really dug his playing because it's, for the age that he was at the time, he was just in his late teens, and a phenomenal guitar player for his age at the time, and just a phenomenal guitar player in general, But so I was really happy to get myself back playing again, because I'd gone through a whole phase of the transition from coming from Glasgow down to London. It took me about a year to get myself into any sort of playing outfit, and so it was nice to get back playing again. And it's, as I said, it's just spiraled from there,
Yeah, we're always saying to make sure you have a decent website, somewhere where people can land and see that you are legit,
Exactly.
And I know you have pumped out quite a number of YouTube videos and drum videos and things like that in the past, and of course that would most definitely like raise a sort of awareness of your existence. And if you're firing all that traffic onto a really bad website, then you're not going to get any interest at all. You know, there's this guy's a joker. You know,
I mean, my first website was hideous. You know, it was absolutely terrible. Of course, you learn about website design as you get go. Honestly, it was literally just like it was my first website starter kit, basically.
Yeah,
and it was really bad. But as I said, what's that? You know, you got to start somewhere, and then. But slowly but surely you start to, and also the technology improves as well. Like I remember back when I started, it was like free webs was like the best thing that you could get without having to pay for it. But what you had to sacrifice was you'd have your name, but then it would be like .webs.com, like that, and it just wasn't very professional. And then slowly but surely, exactly, different domains come up, and who I'm using just now is fantastic. You get your own domain, and you're able to basically move and design every small little element of the site rather than just have templates that you must follow, and then you can just create and do your whole lot. And as I said, the best thing, the way I look at it as far as from a perspective of, you know, marketing yourself is put everything in the one place. Have a website, and the website has everything, and if not everything's on there, then have a link to somewhere else. So you go to this, it's almost like the hub. It's like Rob's hub, as it were, and it's got everything that you would need to know about me on this one website. And there's a couple of external links that take you out to see YouTube, or it'll take you to maybe SoundCloud or Spotify for anything that I've played on, or just have a link to Spotify or something like that. But and just trying to make your website look as professional as possible.
Yeah, it's so like you said, the tools are there now. It's a lot easier now to do that.
Exactly,
with Wix and Squarespace and all that stuff.
And two of my biggest gigs I got out of my website. I got working for the wedding band that you took my throne for. So so once I moved down to London, I'd said to the landlord, the perfect guy to take my seat, and I got in touch with Gavin, and I spoke to the band leader for studio and said, "Well, would you be happy if there's a wedding band up in Glasgow?" And I said, "You know, I've got the perfect guy," and Gav has taken my drum stool for studio, and that's 5 years later he's still sat there and he's doing a great job. So
they just couldn't find anyone better. That's the problem. I want to talk about the sort of growth of the Connor Selby band, and that night in, I can't remember which venue you said it was, the night you were discovered, in a sense. Can you talk us through that night, that gig that you thought was just another ordinary gig?
Absolutely. So this gig was a gig at Chelsea's football stadium. They've got a club that's in one of the main stands at Stamford Bridge, and I can't remember which stand it is. Maybe like the West Stand. I can't remember which one it is, but it's underneath that stand is this little sort of really nice club. It's like a joint of where they've all a load of good musicians there, and the venue's called Under the Bridge in Chelsea. And so we went there, and we turned up, and it's a lovely little venue. It's nice sort of jazzy club thing. It looks cool, and we're setting up, and as we get there, Connor's dad, who was sort of Dublin as his manager at the time, he kind of come up to every single one of us as we got there, and he says, "Right, guys, I need your A game tonight." And of course I'm saying, "Well, why?" And he says, "Well, Bill Curbishley's coming down to see us tonight." And of course, me being the dafty that I am, I was like, "Who's Bill Curbishley?" And so then of course I had to do a bit of Googling. When I found out who he was talking about, I was like, "Oh, okay," because he said, I think he said, "Well, the Who's manager's coming down to see you tonight, get your fingers out." And I've always, Keith Moon's one of my favourite drummers that I've on my top 10 list for sure. He's incredible. But I always loved a lot of the Who's stuff, and from a young age as well, but I'd never gone into the complete and utter depths of Who's Who in terms, pun intended again, as far as management and things like that were concerned. So when he told me Bill Kirby, or the manager of the Who, my first instinctual thought was, I'll be one of these old guys. I was the manager of the Who before they were discovered, and then we handed it over to the record company, and then I got punted, and I've not done anything since. And I thought that was who he was going to be talking about. So when I, of course, then Googled Bill to see his credentials, and I realised that, as a matter of fact, he still manages the Who these days. That was a bit of a bit of a slap around the face with a wet fish, thinking, well, my God, he's coming here tonight. I said, well, why is he coming here? And he said, well, and you know, Connor's dad had said, well, he said that's just you know, he's been putting Connor's name out there, and a friend of a friend who was good friends with Bill, and Bill had been very up for coming along to see one of our gigs. So so we got told to bring the A game that night, and it does put a lot of pressure on you when you're trying to play, and you know you've got a sort of special audience sat there watching you for different reasons. And we didn't actually know what they were able to offer us at that point. If he was able to offer us anything at that point, I don't think anybody did. I think anybody was just like, well, if you come down and if he likes us, then we'll just see where it goes, I suppose. You know, nothing ventured, nothing gained kind of deal. So
yeah. So it was just it was another gig, just a kind of an ordinary night, but there just happened to be someone fairly influential in the crowd.
Yeah, I mean, we were actually supporting the Henrik Freislander band. He's a fantastic blues musician from continental Europe, and he'd come across on a tour, and this was one of his stops on the tour, and we were supporting him. And but we were also on the bill with a cracking London band called Southbound. Mm-hmm. Great bunch of guys. They're just best mates with each other. You can just tell the camaraderie is fantastic. So it was really nice because when you got there, they got there as well. They just came up to you and they just started chatting like you were best mates and you'd known them forever, and they were so welcoming, lovely guys. And that actually in a sense took your mind off things, because instead of you sitting there thinking like, when's Bill going to turn up, you were too busy networking and just getting on really well with the other support bands that were on the bill, as it were.
So what happens? You play the gig. I'm assuming it goes well. What happens after that?
Yeah, I mean, before we played the set, you know, I went up. I think we just finished the sound check, and that was when Bill walked in, and I'd had my sticks in the back pocket, and Connor's dad says to me, right, well, come on, I'll come up and I'll introduce you to Bill. So I was like, oh, brilliant. So I walked up, and Bill was talking to another one to Connor's dad's friend who brought him along, and Connor's dad sort of interrupts and says, "Oh, how you doing? I'd like to introduce you to some of Connor's band. This is such and such. This is Joe, the guitarist." And then he turns and says, "This is Rob." And of course, Bill then says, "Oh God, I know that because he's got a stick sticking in his back pocket, for God's sake!" And then grabbed me and gave me a nice bro hug and stuff. It was really nice, and it was nice to meet him. But so that was that kind of broke the ice a little. But so that made me relax a little bit. But then you do go up there and you play, and I played my butt off. You know, I was really up for it that night. Red Bull's a wonderful thing as well. Gives you a good bit, gives you wings, as I say. So I definitely had my A game on that night, and I thought the whole band played a blinder. The set was really, really good. Really hot up there, but it was really, really good fun. I think we all came off thinking that was brilliant. That was really good going. And we came off and we went backstage and we're just cooling down, and I helped the Southbound boys get themselves set up, and it was really cool, and handed over to them. And so I'd only been backstage maybe about 10-15 minutes, maybe pushing 20 minutes to half an hour, I don't know. Southbound boys were on playing at this point, and Connor comes to me and says, "Right, Rob, I need to have a meeting with you backstage right now." And of course I'm going, "Oh God, that's me fired." I've always played a bad one and I didn't realise that. Here's my P45 coming. So I went backstage, and the rest of the band was there. I'm thinking, this is really shameful. He says, "Sorry, you're out." Not that Connor would do that. But anyway, but he says, "No," he says, "Bill has just offered us 20 minutes to support the Who at Wembley." And of course, everyone just busted laughing. It's like, come on, man, don't we... Someone's, you know, and you know, what are you talking about? And then... And he said, no, he said, Bill had come up to his dad on the way out the door and said, quite very casually, had gone to them and said, "Yeah, they can have 20 minutes supporting the Who at Wembley." And basically it caused Connor's dad's jaw to just hit the floor, and he passed it on to Connor. We weren't allowed to tell anybody at all, but it was just, it took us, and as it sunk in, like, it was hilarious. You know, Joe, just because Joe, the rhythm guitarist and backup vocalist, very talented player himself, he's incredible. He just busted laughing, and he literally turned into a 5-year-old kid, started jumping around the room, not screaming, but really getting proper enthusiastic. And I'm sat there. The only thing I could think to do was laugh, because I thought, well, I don't know how else to really react to this. So I just busted laughing. I was wetting myself. I just thought it was hilarious. And then there's Fergie Fulton, who's another expat, if you like. He's a Scotsman from Europe who's living down south. He's the bass player, and Fergie he's Mr. Chill, and he just sat there with his arms folded, going, "Cool, yeah, man. This could be decent." Yeah, not bad, man. And of course, I'm sitting there. Okay, it was incredible. Like the span of reactions across the board of the band was just went from 180 to the other. It was it's crazy. Yeah. But that took a good few weeks to come down off that pedestal. Let's put that, or that come down from Cloud 9 rather. So that was incredible.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like the classic story, the sort of classic, one day you'll get picked up at a gig, and then we're always taught like that never happens, so don't.
Exactly.
It's like winning the lottery. Like it's the exception to the rule.
It is.
And it just goes to show though, like you should always play your gigs as if it's your last gig. You know, just give it up your all the time. If you can.
100%. And the thing, I think, is going on the point you just made, like we're all, as you rightly said, you're always taught to, or what I'd learned from personal experience before was don't believe it until you click it was my catchphrase, because until you're sat there behind your throne clicking in for the first song, it could go wrong and not happen. And it's all, and the amount of times in previous gigs that I've done and previous artists that I've worked with, and they've promised big things like a tour to India or a tour here or a tour there or whatever it was, like we once nearly did, and you get so excited about it, and as is often with the case with music, it falls apart last minute, and you kind of, and of course if you've got your hopes up, it's a bit of a fall, and it's a sore one. So therefore, if you start with no expectations whatsoever, then you get any higher than that, then you're doing pretty well. So as I said, I was very sort of like, he says we're doing this, he says we're supporting the Who at Wembley, but don't believe it until you click it, as I said.
Yeah, and then you go onto Ticketmaster and see that your name on the bill, and then you're like, well, I guess it's happening then.
It must be happening. And I think the one that really got it for me was when I was walking through London and I looking in, there it is on the side of a double-decker bus, my God, and you could just see yourself going past, and you see Connor Selby's name on the side of a double-decker bus beside, the Who, and you're coming up off, the tube to come up to the top level, and all of a sudden you're going on the escalators and you're kind of rubbernecking it because you're kind of going like this as you see your name on the billboard as you're coming up the escalator going, this is ridiculous, and then I think it was around about then it started to kind of hit home, and it started to really think this could happen. And even then, I still wasn't really believing it. I didn't want to just, in case something happened last minute, anything could have happened. Somebody from the Who could have got ill, or I don't know, some deadly virus could swarm the world and then cause it to happen. Something.
Nah, that would never happen.
That would never happen. So again, you go from it from a we'll see, we'll take it as it comes, and then you've got plenty of time to be excited about it on the day, and stuff like that. So
yeah. So what was it like sitting behind your kit on Wembley Stadium stage? Bizarre. It's one of those things that I'd always said I wanted to do. In my head, I'd always had that sort of image of like, imagine you doing something like that, and as I said, my kit is, I've got a kit I'm very proud of. That's another point. If you're trying to, when going back to the point we're talking about, how do you get yourself out there and stuff, is just get the best gear that you can manage to get, because, and take a lot of pride in looking after your gear and get the best gear possible, as you guys well know. So I'm sat there with this kit that I took forever to set up, and I'd get everything in the exact right position, and then somebody said, right, can I just have your bass drum please? And I just went poof, and it went and hit off the seats at the back of the stadium and then come straight back to me. It was like poof, and it was just such a bizarre feeling, and I just couldn't get enough of it, so I just started going, like my leg just started going fine, just so I could hear this noise, and I got totally shut up a bit. I got totally shut up eventually, but I was like, okay, forget it. But it was so, it's not, it's, how many times in a recording studio or when you're doing a live gig, the sound engineer has to apply some reverb to your bass drum or your snare drum just to give your kit that live feel. Yeah.
You didn't have to do anything because it was all coming from a real source, and it was just like you'd get that reverb from your snare, and it was going straight through the stadium, and same with incredible. It was just it was really something you had to sort of pinch yourself and think, it can't be real, but it is. It's a once in a lifetime thing. Incredible.
Yeah, it must have been amazing. And the gig, I'm assuming, did it? See, when you're playing the gig, are you aware that you're playing the gig, or is it just kind of happening in front of you, like that kind of surreal? You're just kind of, your brain's like and or were you quite in the moment? Or
yeah, absolutely. I think you realise before, like, the waiting's the worst part for anybody at any size gig. It doesn't make a difference if you're doing a small gig in a pub that you're nervous. It's your first one. The waiting that it comes in part with being a musician, waiting to go on, waiting to have a sound check, waiting to get set up, all these things. The waiting is the worst because that's when your brain takes over and you start potentially overthinking things. You start worrying about, well, what happens if my stick snaps, or what happens if my bass drum pedal goes, or what happens, whatever, or I forget what I'm supposed to play or something like this, and that always happens beforehand, and that's what causes nerves and everything else. But when you get there, and you're focused on just doing the best possible job, and you're sat down behind and you just start playing, it's like every other gig you ever play. Obviously, it's not like at all like any other gig you ever play, but once you get yourself in that zone, it's just like another gig until you're done, and then you just take a step back and you think, my God, that's what I've just done. So, the whole scale of the thing was incredible, because you've got tons of guys there that was filmed properly, and it was put up on the big screens behind us as well, and it was all recorded and mixed properly. We've all got a copy of the gig as well, and you had roadies, crew who are just doing everything they possibly could for you. Have you got a towel there? You're right, man. Where do you want your, and they're even saying stuff like, your set list, where do you want your set list taped? And I was trying to be a bit funny. I don't think he took it as funny, but I was like, no, a bit further to the left than what you've just done that, mate. Can you rip it up and put it a bit further to the left? And he's like, oh yeah, sure, I can do that. I was like, no, mate, I'm just kidding.
You were kidding, yeah. I was
being a proper only M&Ms in the dressing room type, orange M&Ms in the dressing room type of gig, But no, I did. He got me. But there's tons of water, there's towels, there's a whole lot, and it was really, it was really cool. And the worst bit for me was at the time. I've changed this now off the back of this, but I was never one for buying a stand box for all my stands, because I thought, well, I could just carry them myself. Saves me buying a box at X amount of £100. So I was just to carry them in one by one, and then all the smaller bits I would put in a Sainsbury's bag for life. And because it was easy, just carry the damn thing in, So I took my car in and I parked it underneath with all these big massive tour trucks and tour buses and everything else. And one of the stage managers says to some of the crew, he says, right, go and help us lad get the stuff out the car. So we went out of the car and opened. I'm handing my big hard cases, which are the same as ones you've got, Gavin, and I'm handing them these big hard cases, and the boys are taking them up. And I felt really sorry for that poor last guy, because the last thing he's thinking, this is not bad. They're turning around and I had them this Sainsbury's bag for life, and he's looking at me as if, you on the wind up, son. I'm a roadie for the Who, and I'm carrying this little snotty nosed kid's Sainsbury's bag for onto the stage. And he must have had such a down moment at that point. I felt really sorry for him, so I've decided I can't do that again. So I've gone and got myself a hard case just off the back of the moment. So you learn.
So funny. It's like you've been elevated from, playing weddings where you have to load in yourself in the rain and all of that stuff, playing church halls, and then up to like the largest venue in the country. It's amazing.
Yes, it's definitely an experience I'm not going to forget anytime soon, for sure. And it opens tons of doors off the back of it as well. It's opened quite a few good doors just purely and simply from doing that one gig, and from that exposure, it really does open a few.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to ask next. Like, what happened after the gig? Like, how did the Who like your set? Did they like the band? I'm assuming they did.
Well, Bill was fantastic. Bill was quite happy to stay. We spoke to a couple of members. I spoke to Bill later on, and I spoke to Zach Starkey as well. I had a chat with him, and
that's Ringo Starr's son, the drummer.
Yeah, but he's drumming for the Who, and the kit he's got is phenomenal, man. Because they had a big 60-piece orchestra behind them, and as a result, they didn't want to use a proper acoustic kit because of all the bleed that could happen, the bleed issues with the string section and drums. So what he did was he took he's endorsed by DW, I believe. And he'd got this DW, it was a Roland, but I think he just stuck some DW badges on it, if I'm perfectly honest, because I did ask him and I said, is that a DW electric kit? I didn't know they made electric kit. He's like, no, it's Roland, man. I was like, oh, okay. So he got this massive, big, gold-plated, gold shell DW electric kit, and it sounded phenomenal. You couldn't hear it on the stage, but you go out front, it sounded brilliant, and phenomenal. So, yeah, I was chatting away to him, and stuff, and he loved the set. Bill loved the set, and we didn't really get to speak too much to the other boys, but Roger or Pete. But but yeah, Bill at the end of that, I think, was that he goes up to Connor's dad again and says, "Yeah, well, we might get these guys on the tour next year. That'd be a good idea. Get them on the tour with us next year." And that was happening. I should have done it by now, as we are on June 2nd. It was supposed to have been in late March, early April, but of course, due to this virus, it's been postponed to March next year. So it was so close, but then the carrot stick gets moved, and you've got to kind of just got to wait for another year. But it was tremendous, you know. And it did open a lot of other doors as well, because off the back of that, we got to play at Abbey Road, and we called it Abbey Road, which is again another thing for me that's just I've wanted to do since whenever. And we recorded some songs at Abbey Road with Connor off the back of the success of the gig, you know. So it definitely, when you do something like that, it definitely opens doors for you, seeing you and then wanting to, you know, do something else, you know, with you. So
so the tour, obviously, you're saying the tour was postponed, so you're still on the bill for next March.
Still on the bill, and what's so great about it is for us is that you know the Wembley gig was quite a vast bill, because obviously it started off with us first, and then after us it was but it had the Kaiser Chiefs on the bill there as well, and people like that, and there was about 4 or 5 other artists. So I think there was 5 artists in total, and the Chiefs were on there as well. And but off the back of that, as Bill purposely turns to us and says, you know, you guys can have the support slot. So there's no other bands on the tour except us. So it's going to be us and then the Who. So it's just going to be the 2 bands. So that's a very exciting prospect as well. The fact that there's no, because we started playing probably a good 6 hours before the Who came on, just with all the bands that had to come on before that. So you could say you were kind of, you know, it's kind of passing ships in the night sort of deal. But with this, it's definitely going to be. Very close contact with these guys, so that'll be cool.
Yeah,
but we're still on the same bill for next year.
Yeah, that's going to be pretty cool. So I think you said it was all the arena. It was like the arena tours, all the big arenas up and down the country.
Tour, yeah, I can't remember. I think the orders changed slightly now, but last year it was meant to. Started off Manchester and Dublin were being done by. I believe it was the son-in-law of Roger Daltrey. He had a band, and he was going to give them the support slots for the first two gigs, and then after that, the first gig was Newcastle arena, and then it was up to Glasgow for the SEC for the Hydro, which I was really looking forward to that, coming home and playing.
Yeah,
it was really going to be cool. And then we were just going to start working our way down the country. And then we would get back to Wembley Arena. There was talk of the Albert Hall as well, just due to the fact there was because the Who had been asked to do the Albert Hall, and then there was space issues because they wanted the full 60-piece orchestra. So they didn't think there would be enough space for us as well. But I don't know whether that'll happen next year, or whether that's just because it was like a once-off thing. If that's going to get patched or what, I don't know. But yeah, so it was a really exciting tour that I was really excited to do. And of course, when you get the carrot, you get the rug pulled from under you. Very frustrating, but it's one of these things in the music industry that this happens all the time. And that goes back to what I was saying before, don't believe it until you click it. I was 10 days away from clicking my first gig in Newcastle, and it got pulled away. So even the biggest things that seem the most certain to happen, you know, that wrecking ball can come in from wherever and just totally change the game. So just be patient and don't believe it until you click it, is my saying. So
yeah. That's a good saying to have. So, obviously this tour is going to be happening in March.
Yes.
What is the future plans for the Connor Selby band and you as a drummer? What's the future? You're still working at Heathrow Airport just now.
Yeah. And that's a good thing. It's keeping me busy during this pandemic as well, because I'm still at work, this is another reason why personally I personally am pretty grateful that I've got music as a career in parallel with my other career, because as I said, I really feel for the guys who depend on weddings and depend on, you know, these gigs, and obviously there's nothing going at the minute, and that must be so difficult. And so that's one thing that I'm really glad that that's another reason why I'm really glad to have music as just a sort of parallel career for me. But as for Connor, Connor, obviously all the gigs for Connor have been postponed at the moment. It was a case of after the tour, but it was just wait and see what comes off the back of the tour. So we've now got a new run up, and we've got another sort of 10 months to wait now. But as I said, in the meantime, Connor had a few gigs in the diary booked for the rest of this year, which would have, been good. There's a really good blues circuit down this neck of the woods, and blues rock circuit, not even just down in London, but across England in general. Actually, it's not something I've seen as much of in Scotland, believe it or not. But in England, there's quite a big network of these just little blues clubs that get bands in all the time. So he's been going around doing that, doing different competitions. We're meant to be playing the festival down in Kent. I forgot what it's called now, but Ramblin' Man Fair down in Kent. That was a cracking festival. So we did that last year, and that was brilliant. So things like that. He's got various different up and down gigs. I think he's in the process of starting to want to record new material to release. So I think there's going to be a bit of a drive to get into the studio again to record a lot of new songs. We've come up with quite a lot of new songs recently. We've started to play live. And I think we're getting to the stage now where we just need to get them put down on a record and get them out there. So I think that's probably going to be a priority when all this starts to lift, is get back into the gigs but get into the studio also. And as for me as a drummer, just see where the road takes me. It's a fun journey. And as I said, for me, I've not got the stress of having to really worry about it for the earning of my living. So I'm able to just go with the flow and take it as it comes, really. So. Yeah.
So the whole premise of this podcast is to help people level up their band. So it's trying to learn about all the different things that will increase your chances of becoming successful, and that doesn't necessarily mean doing it full time. Because there's an example of yourself. You are a part-time musician, part-time ground marshal at Heathrow Airport, and you still managed to land a gig with The Who at Wembley Arena, at Wembley Stadium, and a tour.
Exactly.
So it's more about what you can learn to try and increase your chances. Like ditching the supermarket bag and buying a hard case, for example.
What can I say, man? Every little helps,
Oh no, right. Yeah. That's enough of that. So no. Yeah,
it's about the attitude. It's about making sure you have the right attitude for it. And as I said, if you go at it with the right energy, it doesn't matter whether it's a full-time career for you or if it's not. Like I said, for me, I do a lot of juggling between my work shifts and taking a lot of shifts off just so I can go and do gigs with Connor. It's about making time equally for both and pursuing each. If you have got another job, it's making sure that you obviously are committed and energised by that job, but make sure that you're exact same with your music as well, so that one's not taking precedence over the other.
And what would you say to people that are starting out? They're kind of starting at the bottom. They've just started a band. What would you say is the most important thing to always keep in mind if you want to become more well known or more successful or grow an audience?
Well, first of all, in terms of an attitude, you have to stay humble. Humble's really important because there's too much ego in the music industry, and I've seen my fair share of it, and it's not great. It doesn't go down well. It's enough to stop people getting gigs and getting your work. So stay humble, definitely, and also practice your craft and live and breathe your craft. If it's a band in general, find yourself a band with guys who are just as like-minded as yourself, who same attitude and the same, and people you get on well with. Manufactured bands are a thing, but if you really have a band that your best mates, then absolutely, make sure that works better because you've got a natural camaraderie there and a natural chemistry. And then lastly, I would say just put yourself out there as best you can, market yourself as best you can, whether that be on your own or with your band.
Yeah,
there's tons of opportunity.
No one else is gonna do that. No one
else is gonna, and you've got so much opportunity out there. Just now, you've got YouTube and there's a lot of followers for that, and also things like Instagram and Facebook. That's been used more so right now at this very moment in time, with everyone being stuck indoors, than it probably ever has been. And as a result, there's a perfect time to go and do it. As I said, make sure you got the best quality work that you can get. If you're going to record something, do your best to make sure it's your best work. Don't settle for anything less. And if you can get the best that your money can get you in terms of quality of a record, and really don't cut corners. So a lot of people rush music out there because they think the sooner we get it out there, the better. But what you sacrifice is quality. So take your time. Yeah. Tons of it.
So I'm aware of our time. I think we're coming up on almost an hour, so I don't want to
Sorry,
keep you.
those poor people have had to hear me rant.
No,
So
no, I don't. Not at all.
Yeah. No, it's good
honest,
to hear.
That's what I've done. I've just sat here and listened. It's going to be a good podcast. Enjoyed it.
I forgot you were here, Julian, man.
I forgot I was here too. I was just so enthralled. I was just taking down notes.
Yeah. No, it's been great talking. We're definitely gonna, if you'd be willing, we'll definitely have you back at some point.
I'd love to. Yeah.
But it's good to have that, because as musicians starting out, you always hear of these like stories of people who, they played this gig and then they got signed and then they dominated the world and blah blah blah. So it's actually we're getting to talk to someone who has kind of seen how you can just through hard work and getting yourself out there and playing gigs, and you can actually get somewhere. It's not like that all the time, but it can happen if you keep going.
Yeah. It's not quite how you see it in the movies. I think that's quite a false sense of security, but sometimes it can be not too far off. But yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah,
exciting stuff.
So, where can people find you if they want to check out your recordings or your bands, or is there anything you want to promote here?
Well, yeah, if I can, it's that'd be great. Where can you find me? Well, I'm online. I'm everywhere. Like I said before, just try and get yourself in a place where everybody can find you easily. So I've got my website, which is www.rob-shearer.com, and that's basically, as I said to you before, that's my hub. That's where I've got I've got links to my YouTube, my SoundCloud, all my Spotify stuff I played on, and things, and everything you need's on there if you want to have a look at that. And also on top of that, one thing that this man has not spoken about very much is my because he's had a massive involvement, and he's literally worked wonders on this project for myself and my mates, is a project that I have at the moment called Interstate with my three best mates, and we've been working together for years up north, and I still find time to fly home and gig with them. And Gavin he's been mixing and mastering in some cases some of the tracks that we have recorded, and he's made them sound absolutely phenomenal. So Interstate's going to be coming out very soon. We're just in the process of getting the artwork and stuff sorted, and then we're going to start releasing that very, very soon. Definitely within the year, we'll be releasing some tracks onto Spotify, and that's a place where you can hear obviously Interstate play, but also hear the great Gavin Patterson's work also from Studio 1790. So yeah, check out Interstate Band Scotland if that interests you as well. You'll hear some stuff coming out really soon.
Cool. So is there anything else you wanted to say before we sign off? Well,
just stay safe. Thank you for having me. I said for those people who are kind of stuck at the minute, just be patient. It will come back. Practice as much as you can right now, because everyone's stuck indoors and we can't really do anything. But if you take this opportunity to practice as much as you can, get yourself a better player, and hopefully some of the absolute garbage that's come out of my mouth in the last hour is of some use to you somewhere. I hope so.
Okay, well, thanks so much for coming on, and
thanks so much for having me, guys. It was really
it was a pleasure. So
appreciate it.
We'll leave it there, and I have no idea what we're going to talk about next week. As usual, it's usually just I usually just kind of make something up.
Theme now.
It's become the theme, yeah. So,
where the flow takes you.
But we will be back next week, and I'll try and think of something to talk about. I don't know. We'll see. It'll be a complete surprise and mystery, whatever. So until next week, hope you're all staying safe and have a good one. Bye.
Bye.